nerds! Today we are talking 5 reasons to read In the Ravenous Dark by Strickland, and I am very excited to share this book with you because I had a wild time reading this. So here are 5 reasons that I think will make you hopefully want to read this book. If you like these things, you're likely to like this book. First, we're gonna start with a synopsis. In the Ravenous Dark, we follow a girl whose father is a blood mage, so he can manipulate blood magic, and he is unregistered and therefore illegal and in hiding, and the authorities find him and come to arrest him. He fights and dies, and the main character is only 7 years old when it happens. She's his real daughter, so she also has this blood mage powers, but because her father lies, it's believed that she has no powers, so is left alone with her mother. 10, 12, something like that, years later, she by mistake outs herself as having this blood mage powers and gets taken to the palace, because in this world blood mages have to be registered and they also have to have a dead soul attached to them, which is kind of like their guardian, and it's this ever-present shadow that's always with them. I had a lot of fun with this book. It was really interesting, and I wanted to share some details on why I think you'd also enjoy it. My reason number 1 is interesting and complex magic system. So this book has a really fun world set up. I mean, it's all, maybe not fun is not the right word, as it's all about death and death magic and dark magic and blood magic. So it's all quite grim. There's this necropolis where people are like living dead, where they're living but they're trying to come as close to death as possible. You have these shadows that are kind of protectors but also enforcers of the law, and all the aspects of the magic are quite connected to death. There's this blight happening where everything is just being covered in death and no one knows why. So there's a lot of death but also a very interesting world. I was pretty much hooked from page 1 or chapter 1 when we see the main character's father exhibit his blood mage powers. They're just so interesting, something so vibrant how it was introduced, and it was really fun to see this very unique world, I would say, quite a unique magic system, and a very interesting approach it's taken to like the blood and death magic. There's also things that I don't want to spoil because I feel like they come quite late, but there's like another aspect to the magic system that makes it really interesting. Different types of creatures coming in, different people in different countries having different beliefs about the magic, how they approach the magic. There's bloodlines. It's a lot, but it's really fun, and I think it's quite well explained, and you really walked through it and you understand most of it, but you also understand that it has a lot of depth, which I think is really good and cool and made for a very interesting read. Reason number 2, I would say a funny and spirited main character. When we first introduced the main character, she's a child, but then after the time skip, she's, you know, super drunk or hangover, lying on a roof, not sure how she got there, with another girl that she spent the night with, and we learned that she's basically a drunk and kind of a waste, but also I think she has so much spirit and just so much power and this fight in her, which I really appreciated. And I really liked that she was, you know, this typical like, oh, tough spirited main character, but at the same time had a lot of heart, a lot of empathy, and really a lot of depth to her, and I really enjoyed that. And I think that her being super strong-headed was handled quite well actually, and still made me really like her and want to learn more about her, and not just, oh, she's too cool for this, she's just this super assassin that no one can stop. Like, she wasn't like that. She was actually a normal person, not really with any special skills except for the blood mage thing. I admire her fire and that she never gave up and she kept going, and I think it was done really well. Still quite likable, and I still really enjoyed following her, but she wasn't some kind of pushover that would just, you know, like lay over and do whatever she was told, and I really liked her spirit, and I really liked how clever and devious she was. Reason number 3 is brooding a dead boy. So who doesn't like a brooding boy, and who doesn't like brooding dead boy? So of course her shadows are super handsome 20-something man that's just chiseled and dark and beautiful in every way possible, mostly because he's dead, but I do really like him. I think the main love interest was really interesting. His story was interesting, his motivations were interesting, and the relationship was interesting, which brings me to Point number 4, which is the polyamory. So the main character is pansexual from the way she talks about it. Then one of the main love interests is the dead man or the dead boy attached to her. And then we also have the princess called Lydia, who is a lesbian, but the main character is also interested in her. And they actually do have a relationship, all of them. And I think the relationship was done really well. Both of these separate relationships were quite interesting. They had a lot of chemistry. And I think that was an interesting take on polyamory, especially in like YA or like, I'm not actually sure if this is YA, but in this genre type of fantasy where I read, because usually it's a throuple, whereas this one is like a polyamorous relationship where the main character is with 2 people and they're both okay with this and they both feel right about this, but they're not with each other because Lydia is a lesbian and she's not interested in the main guy. But I think it was really nice how it was talked about, how, you know, love is not finite, and how all the characters felt about this. And I really liked how it was done. There was no pettiness, jealousy. It was done really well, and it was shown that it can work, and also it was shown that it doesn't have to be a throuple. There's different types of polyamorous relationships, so I really like that. Overall, the representation in this book was really amazing, with a non-binary secondary character that was quite important, had a big role to play, a lesbian love interest, pansexual main character. You know, it was really cool to see. I really liked that, and I thought that was done very well, and I had a good time with this, and it was really interesting, cool relationship to see. Okay, my reason number 5 is a little long, slightly over the top and dramatic, but without a dull moment, and a very well-rounded standalone. So I think what I was trying to convey is that although this book is a standalone and only goes about like 400 pages or something, it really shows you a well-rounded, full, well-thought-out story that really feels like it could very easily be a whole fantasy trilogy series, where there's so much that happened, there's so much that the characters went through, so much the world went through, so much changed. Although it's just a standalone, I love standalones where, you know, sometimes it's not as easy to execute well, but I think it was done really well in this instance. I really enjoyed that, and I think overall it didn't, like I said, didn't have a dull moment. It was always go, and like interesting things happened. The pacing was really good. The overall story was really well structured. I like that it was a standalone. It could do this in one book, so it did it, and I really appreciate that. I really respect that. So overall, In the Ravenous Dark, I had such a great time with. I do think it's a little bit dramatic, it's a little over the top, but I love it. The main character is dramatic and over the top. The action, you know, what happens is a little tiny bit dramatic, but I love it, and I thought it did such a good job. It was so cool to see a different type of relationship. It was so cool to see all this representation, and I really enjoyed this really vibrant world. I would really want to revisit. I know I said it's a standalone, I'm happy with that, but maybe like a companion or something. I just really think the author did a really great job. I really appreciated it, so I wanted to share my thoughts with you. I hope you were convinced to pick it up. If you were, let me know which point convinced you. If you've read it, let me know what you thought about it. So that's it from me. If you enjoyed the video, if you could comment, like, and subscribe, I really appreciate it. It really helps me out. But that's it from me, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!